Well, hi again, Beaver Nation. It's time for another, with apologies to FDR, a fireside chat from the Lowe's level at Reser Stadium. And it is a pleasure to welcome to the Oregon State family and to Corvallis. Maybe only a second trip ever for this guy, but he's making it home now. And it is an honor to welcome in our one-on-one conversation the new defensive coordinator, Kevin Clune. Kevin, welcome to Beaver Nation.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thanks for being here. And joining us just as we kind of get to know you a little bit and find out a little bit about your philosophy and background in coaching. Highly decorated defensive coordinator with tremendous results that speak for themselves on paper wherever you've been. But in this business, even before we get to that, it seems to be all about relationships, friendships, and core people that you get to know through the years in the profession. And Gary Andersen sounds like one of those guys for you. So what does it mean to you to kind of reconnect with Gary here at Oregon State?
Well, it's all part of I feel like we're coming back to the family. I met Coach Andersen back in the 90s, used to work the camps at Utah when he was a defensive line coach there. Ended up becoming a graduate assistant coach under Gary and Kyle over there, Coach McBride. And through there, then I worked for him again at Southern Utah. Was always close with him when he was back at Utah and I was at Weber State, and then all through these travels, and then Utah State and all these different things. So it's all kind of coming back to the same philosophies and the same family style that we have. It's good.
You mentioned several people involved. Coach McBride certainly is a guy that seems to be an overarching figure for a lot of you in terms of philosophy, development of style, and Gary has spoken often of him, and not just Coach McBride, but some of the other people you mentioned. What are the core values or beliefs you share with Gary in that respect?
Well, yeah, I talk about the Mac family tree, and it's about toughness, and it's about controlling the line of scrimmage. It's about being great on the offensive, defensive lines. It's about going out every play. It doesn't matter who you're going against; you're going to smash heads, and it's a fun thing to coach under, and it's been a theme that you see in a lot of different programs right now that have all kind of branched off from that old Utah staff. And this will be more of the same. I believe in those things, and I know Coach Andersen does, and Coach Woods on offense. I know he wants to run the ball, and we'll have some fun times in spring, and we're going to show it in the fall.
You know, you've already mentioned something I wanted to bring up in researching a little bit before the conversation. One of your former players at UH, when you were the coordinator there in 2014, said, he's a tough coach. He repeats himself a lot because he wants us to get everything down, and there are no plays off under this guy. That was one of your former players, and that no plays off, and everybody competes.
Yeah. And yeah, we got to fight, and we got to, the situation we have here, and we got to go out and we got to play against some of the best in the country, and we're going to fight every down, and that's something that is going to be all the way through the program, whether it's special teams, offense, defense, and you're going to see it every single play. We got to compete.
You are the defensive coordinator and inside linebackers coach. How are the two, in your mind, connected? Why D coordinator, inside linebacker?
First, they're my favorite position to coach, but also as a coordinator, you have to make sure that everybody's on the same page, everyone's understanding, and so the inside linebackers are the kind of the quarterbacks of the front. The safeties have a lot of stuff too that they got to know, but I can look into their eyes, and if I see that they're getting it, we can move forward. If I see that they have a little hesitation, then we got to stop and we got to go back and relearn some of the things. So as much as the inside backers can handle, that's as far as this defense can go. And same thing with the safeties in the back end. Those guys will be running, calling the checks and running the things on the field. And so I got to make sure that they are squared away.
And how, without putting, how big of a jump are the Beavers going to make statistically in numbers in your first year? I don't know what anyone can know about that, and wouldn't put you on the spot in that way. But it is remarkable to me in looking at your background where Hawaii was defensively in 2013 and the incredible jump that you made in all categories in the 1 year you were there. How did you get that to happen, and can big jumps be taken if guys commit and buy in?
Yeah, I believe that big jumps can happen. First, at UH, it was a situation where those kids were hungry to compete and hungry to learn and hungry to do things the right way. And I feel the same way as I've stepped in here the last few days. I've seen that from the guys. And so that's the first step. That's the foundation, is you got to have the right attitude, the right kids, the right mindset. And then again, going from with the head coach on down, there's going to be some very common themes of what we do and about playing hard and playing tough and playing every snap. And those things they can create major jumps in statistical categories. That stuff doesn't matter. It's about getting the W's, and we're just going to fight and compete for those wins.
And yet, I know that statistical categories, in the end, you want to win games. You'll give up points and yards if it means a win at the end, whatever it takes.
Yeah.
But your numbers, you coming off coaching the number 17 defense in the country, total defense, teams in the top 15 in major statistical categories at Utah State recently. So, while we may dismiss numbers, Coach, you want the numbers to be good, and they have been. So what's that been a function of?
Again, just fighting and competing on every play, and every run play we're fighting for every inch, and every pass play we're trying to get the pressure and trying to make a play, and all those things. And really, it's all those are just pieces that lead up to that, trying to get that W. And whatever it takes for us to have one more point at the end of the 60 minutes, that's what we're going to try and do. And so on our end of things, it's about playing tough at the line of scrimmage. It's about stopping the run, about getting pressure on the quarterback. It's about playing in your face and in receivers in the passing game. And all those little things add up, and that we got to make sure that we are able to hold them to 1 point less than our offense can score that day.
Coach, I know a lot last year was talked about transitioning here from a 4-3 to a 3-4, but I know Gary and Kalani talked a lot about, that's true, and the 3-4 is a base, but we're multiple. Is that your vision of things? 3-4, but multiple?
Yes. Yeah. We'll start with the 3-4 base stuff, but we will, bring a lot of stuff from a lot of different places. We'll blitz corners, we'll blitz safeties, we'll blitz linebackers, we'll do everything we can. And really one of the main things about my vision is we will have a vision. However, this thing will evolve around the kids. As I get to know the players better, as we figure out their strengths and weaknesses, it'll be about directing them towards their strengths and about what we can do on defense with these players.
And with respect to that, Coach, you're early here. You were telling me off camera that your only other trip you remember was right after Mount St. Helens blew in it was May 18th, 1980, as we recall. I remember where I was on that day. You made a trip through here about that time, and now this is home. But in these early days at home, Coach, in Corvallis at Oregon State, what is your job description? What are you going to be doing in terms of evaluation?
Well, just trying to teach the kids exactly how I want things done, getting with the other coaches, and again, trying to lay down what our vision of this defense is going to be, trying to get on the same page with all those guys, and then going out as a united front of coaches and teaching our plan. And that's got to be a very quick turnaround, because it may seem like this is the time off, but actually spring ball is right around the corner. And so we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work recruiting. We have a lot of work teaching the kids and getting prepared for next year.
When the Hawaii player that I referred to said he's tough, he's demanding, there's no plays off, he holds players accountable, he repeats himself. Every good coach has to do all of those things, right? So tell me a little bit about your style in working with young men.
Again, there's very specific things that I want, and very specific things of ways we're going to teach these things. And so, again, everything is a step that's built upon the last steps, and we will do whatever it takes to continue to make that progress. And if we have to slow down and come back and repeat ourselves, and that's what we have to do. But there is a work to be done, and we won't stop as coaches until that work is done.
If there's hunger there, if guys are hungry to assimilate all of those things you just talked about, can the physicality and toughness, sometimes people say, well, you got to be born with that. Can you help instill that as coaches?
I believe so. I think that I coached high school in the 90s, and there was always there were discovery moments, which I think in coaching are some of the best things, is when there's a player that figures it out. And I remember it was maybe game 8 or game 9 of a high school season, and one of the backers that I've been teaching for the last 2 years makes a tackle, and he figured it out on that play. And he actually was so stunned, he just walked off, and Coach, I got it. Right. And I'm like, yeah, that was perfect. That was great. And so those moments are why we coach, when we can see these guys figure it out and go and have success and on the field as an individual and a team.
At Utah State, now I know we're in Pacific Northwest territory, as you know, and a lot of Seahawks fans in our midst. And Bobby Wagner is a guy that you help coach, and he's just signed a big contract. He's a key player for the Seahawks. With Bobby Wagner as an example of development and growth and becoming a guy, and you've had others too at other stops. Tell us about Bobby specifically coaching him.
Bobby's one of my favorite people, and first of all, he was a great player. He was a tenacious player, all those things. But he was such a good person, and he's handled himself so well in his professional life. I'm so proud of who he is. But his major, like you said, you talked about hunger. He every day was coming in and he would learn something every day, and he had the tenacious mindset that no matter what, I'm going to make this play, I'm going to find a way to this tackle, I'm going to get there. And to coach somebody with that attitude, with that mindset is tremendous, that they want to just every day get better and better and better. And I still see that when I have time to watch the Seahawks game. He's still having fun, he's still flying around the field, he's still into the game. It's not just a job, it's a passion for him, and I'm so proud, again, who he is on the field. I'm so proud of who he is off the field.
Coach, how do you use a Bobby Wagner as an example wherever you've coached recently here at Oregon State, about what's possible for guys when they do have that hunger and when they buy in like that?
Bobby's a unique example of the tremendous success, but also if you knew where he come from, he had one offer coming out of college, or coming out of high school, excuse me. He had Utah State, and he wasn't a big name. He was a basketball kid forever, and then got into football late. And he came in, again, he had that hunger and the desire, and he improved each year, not only physically but mentally. And the players that have come after him that I've been able to coach, we can use him as an example as the development and the progression of those things. But again, it starts with the hunger, the desire to get the job done, the toughness, and all those different things. And I think that the work that he put in can be an example for players to come.
And as a recruiter, if he had one offer and now he's playing in Super Bowls, that's a great story. When you recruit, Kevin, Oregon State's going to recruit at a high level and have great kids are coming in here. You're not going to shy away from 4 or 5-star guys, whatever else. But also there's a methodology, isn't there, in finding the Bobby Wagners of the world who may not have a lot of offers, but you like what you see.
Yeah, and on defense, that's pretty simple. If you see guys that love the physicality part of the game, you see guys that cannot live without football and that live it every day. Those are some things that you talk about speed and height and size and weight and strengths and all those things, but the X factor is how tough is this guy? How much does he love football? How much how much will he buy into your program and all those things? And so those are huge X factors that they're not measurables, but and it's one other reason why I love coaching linebackers is because those guys are self-made. A lot like O-linemen, those guys are self-made. You don't come out of the box of great ones. Maybe some people do, but the guys that I've coached have been all hardworking, get there, they'll find a way, they produce, they have a tenacious way about them.
Can you see that? I mean, can you go to a high school game or a JC game and kind of feel, oh, he's got that quality?
Yeah, you're not 100%, but I believe you can, and I think that trying to project a 16-year-old or a 17-year-old kid to Division I football and beyond is very tough. And a lot of mistakes are made, yes, even in the pros when they have all those resources. There's bad draft picks and all those things. But there's always those guys that surprise you. There's always those guys that will outwork the other guy. There's always those guys that have that heart or that tenacity, whatever it is. And that's another reason why you coach is to develop those guys, that may not start with all the tools, but somehow finish better than somebody else.
Are you in any way, Coach, talking about your own life in this game when you live, breathe, and football's life?
I never had any talent playing, but there's, you can be the smartest guy in the field, you can be the hardest worker, you can be the toughest guy. There's always examples of those on every team and every game. You see a guy that you never thought would be great, and all of a sudden he's the guy. And so that's great. It's a great story. It's why we watch sports. It's why we love the team game and the aspect. Everyone can contribute. There's a lot of great things about football.
And you played college football after going to high school in Salinas, but played JC football, played at the University of San Diego. How did those experiences shape you in terms of your football philosophy, and then how you regard players that come up through the JC ranks, or maybe not necessarily an FBS school, so to speak.
Well, I was lucky enough where I had a lot of great coaches all the way down to Pop Warner. Coach Jim Bernardaschi was my Pop Warner coach, and he was an outstanding man. He was a great teacher and a great person to play for. And then Norm Costa in high school was a great coach, and we won a lot of ball games. But it wasn't about that. It was about development and things like that. And then junior college was Gene Murphy, who was at Cal State Fullerton forever, and what a tremendous man he was. And then at University of San Diego, Brian Fogarty and Kevin McGarry. I've had great examples of coaches and have taught me what great football is and what is important and all those things. And it's the greatest team game. It's the most fun thing to play or watch or be a part of. And I feel so lucky to be at this step now. Yeah. And it's just, again, part of the evolution of all these things. It's football's greatest. And
we'll kind of finish up, Coach, where we started from, just welcoming you in. The profession is a demanding, competitive one. I mean, this will now, if I'm reckoning it properly, 2013 Utah State, 2014 Hawaii, back to Utah State, 15, now 16 coming into Oregon State. So you move around a little bit, you go where you got to go, you compete, and you develop and grow. My gut level is you could call this home for a while, maybe put a stop to the moving. Is that sort of your vision?
Yeah, I don't like packing. I don't like moving. But I've been lucky to live in a lot of great places, and I've enjoyed each spot. Again, learned from great coaches along the way. But yeah, would love to take this to the next level, and love to get to the bowl game and then beyond, and then get to a Pac-12 championship and do all the things that people here, want. People here want to back right. A winning team.
And the core values, to close on this, Coach Andersen, you share, I can tell listening to you, you guys have been in rooms together, fought some good fights together, so you feel like with him you're home with the same hard driving, let's go get it philosophy.
Yeah, it's great to be back, and again, all stems back to working at University of Utah with Coach Mack and all those philosophies of being tough and running around and hitting people, and it's great to be back in that situation.
Great to have you, Coach.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to Beaver Nation. Thanks.